Hello. Um, I'm just in bed again. It's like 12 in the morning. I woke up at about like 10 or 11, and I've been here doing the Teal Swan completion process thing, which honestly does work. At least it does for me. I'm not trying to advocate for her. I don't know what the fuck she is or who she is or what the hell she's doing. I still I still I'm still I don't know. I'll talk about my feelings about her another time. I've had some more thoughts about that. But that's not the subject of this video. I've decided to start making a playlist, basically an abuse diary. And my friend that I helped kind of unlearn um unlearn the fact that she felt herself to be deserving of the abuse in her own home, which was far more overt than some of the shit that happens here. Her mother was actually just insulting her to her face, you know? So, that was something that she did. And she did it on her own. Though, um, I was the one who kind of like was encouraging her to believe that she wasn't deserving of it. Of all the bullshit she was being put through at the time. I don't know if I was the reason for her getting better. Sometimes I think I was. I have a feeling that I was. Because I was an angry little fucking teenager and I didn't think. It was obvious. I didn't, at that time, it was ironic because I still didn't believe that my own parents were abusing me. Because the stuff that goes on here is far more insidious. But, you know, it's funny that I helped her out with that at a time where I wasn't even nearly ready to unpack what was going on here. Where I didn't even believe, like, I knew things were shit. I knew I didn't like being here. I knew I didn't trust my parents. But I had no real concrete reasons in my own head as to why, bar like a few a few overt things that happened that I was still kind of justifying, you know, to some degree. Or if I wasn't justifying it, I was kind of going at it with the attitude of, well, that's just life, you know, just still justifying it. There are a lot of things that you can tell yourself that, you know, sound empowering in the moment, but they're still just a means of justification. Anything that seeks to present abuse or trauma that is needless as normal in any capacity, even just going at it with an attitude of, well, this is just life, gotta get on with it, that is still seeking to normalize it. And that is still, like, it's still going to feed into your own victim blaming. That's what I've always found. You know, it's a good place to start, but, no, that's still a very victim blaming kind of an attitude. And it will eventually bite you in the ass if that's the way that you're going about trying to cope with shit, you know. So I'm going to start with a memory that I just sort of forgot about, kind of. It happened recently. I was about 19, and I don't remember how it started. Again, I don't know how it started, but I know that it triggered a suicidal meltdown from me. A meltdown where I wanted to fucking kill myself. Um, Essentially, I think I had been talking about leaving this place. I think what had happened was that this was close to me attempting to run away for the second time. First time was with my nanny, but I don't know if that necessarily counts as running away because my parents were sort of involved with it. They're like, she's just such a troubled teenager, you take her off our hands, you know? Granny was like, Jesus fucking Christ, she is troubled. Sorry. Um, I'm putting the blame on myself again. She was a cunt, and it wasn't the best, but she was a cunt. Anyways, um, fucking No. What happened was, I think I'd been talking about going away again, and this time just leaving myself. And I was still believed at this time that I wouldn't be able to support myself in an apartment on minimum wage in this country, which is actually possible. I hadn't I don't think I had a job at this point. I think this was after I had the restaurant job. And I hadn't even been thinking about moving out when I got that job. I was saving up for a car. That's what I was doing with the money that I nearly had. I'll go into that in a bit. That's another story. But the response that I got from the two of them, because I don't think I was actively in a meltdown. I was upset, but I don't think I was having a meltdown. Oh no, I just fucking remembered what happened. I had a huge fucking meltdown. I stood on top of a table and I screamed at Dad, if I'm supposed to trust you, why do you keep not following through on the things that you'll say that you'll do? Why do you keep lying to me about doing certain things for me? Because I was still very dependent on my dad at this point. And he is a way of, I think he tries to reinforce dependency. And I don't know what the fuck he does, why he does that. But in any case, I was dependent upon him for many things at this point in my life. And I needed him for something, but I can't remember what it was. I'd been waiting for him to do something that I needed him to do. I lost the plot at some point because it was years of this bullshit, and I wasn't even mad that he hadn't done it. I was just mad that he kept lying to me, you know. So I lost the plot, stood on the table, fucking. I was having a typical autistic meltdown, and like there's just a certain point as an autistic person where I can no longer keep it in, you know. And he couldn't answer that, just threatened to call the police. Despite the fact that I was not hurting anybody, I was just very upset, you know. And after I got down from the table, still crying and sniffling and upset, my parents sat me down and tried to explain to me that they weren't against me, you know? They were not against me, which is something that they keep saying, which would sound lovely, except in the context of my parents specifically, it's not an encouraging statement of, we want to hear your side. We want to cooperate with you. No, it's insidious. It is an insidious phrase that basically says, no matter what you think that we're doing to you, we're doing it to you because, we love you, or some shit like that. It carries that same energy. That phrase, we're not against you, that my parents use. I sat down with them and I was like, listen, Dad, could you just please explain to me why you keep on leaving me out in the cold when I need you to do certain things for me? Because I couldn't cycle in and out of town. And that's something that I've started doing recently. Okay? Because for years I was told that the 5 miles that it would take for me to walk from here to Wilkinstown, which has the bus, is too long for me to walk. It took me meeting a man called Carl, who basically explained to me, no, you could fucking walk that fine, for me to be like, oh, okay, I'll try that then. And I did. And it was fine, you know? And fucking, no, I cycle in and out to town now. I couldn't do that back then, and he, would not drive me in and out. He was yelling at me at this point in my life to get a driver's license, despite the fact that I did not have any mode of transportation, you know? And as I said, I've been wanting to save up for a car with the money that I was getting from the restaurant job. You know, that's what my fucking plan was. You know? Anyways, they sat me down and they're like, we're not against you. So I just like, whatever it is that you're saying now is wrong because we're not against you. You have no reason to be upset, you know? And I'm like, he's always lying to me. And I need him for certain things. I'm completely dependent on you guys. Unreasonably so, it turns out. But, anyways, I'm completely dependent upon you guys, and I can't even fucking walk to the grocery store. Like, what do you expect from me? Of course, I would be upset if I needed you to do certain things, but you keep fucking lying about doing them. I can't remember what it was I needed him for at that fucking point. I fucking think it had something to do with the bike, you know? Because I had been, you know, at that point I'd been playing around with the idea of cycling to the bus stop. Yeah, you heard me correctly, to the bus stop. So I could have some form of independence on my fucking own. But I don't remember what it was I needed him for. Fuck. It could have even been to just drive me to the doctors. But that's how dependent upon them that I was. I couldn't even go to the doctors by my fucking self. And it's not like they're particularly reliable people either. You know, especially not my dad. He's not reliable at all. So like I was in shit. I was in deep fucking shit. And they explained to me that essentially they weren't against me. Life is incredibly difficult for young people nowadays. I likely wouldn't be able to support myself on you know, if I wanted to, which is a lie. On minimum wage, I can't afford an apartment. It's expensive, but I can. And I know that because I've been in shared accommodation with someone and we were both splitting the bills, and I got a sense for how much I would need every week or so to pay for groceries, you know? And it turned out I was able to manage fine. So, like, I would do just fine. A roommate would help, but you know, even if I went into shared accommodation again, like, there are some places that are really fucking cheap. Like, if you get lucky, you can end up in a really cheap place. They fucking ways. They're like, life is really hard for young people nowadays, and that's why you're going to need to be fucking nice to us because you'll need our money. And at that point, I also remember when I was standing up on top of the table, I was screaming at him. Why also it wasn't even just about the dependency thing. I was also screaming at him, why do you keep doing things to me that like upset me? Because he was still doing that thing that he does where he just screams at us for no reason. Just no fucking reason at all. He'll come home and just scream, and he's done that all of my life, and I've never ever gotten used to it. Like, only a little while ago, I'll show the story after I share this story. Like, it happened a day or two ago. I'll share that story after I share this story. I was like, why do you keep doing things that have fucking upset me, you know? And he was basically doing the whole thing of, emotions. Yeah, why are you upset? When I was like explaining in very logical detail why I was upset. And I was also, I'm so sorry. It's just, my mind blurs over so many things that happen. So it's gonna come out all sort of like jumbly. The reason for that is likely there's still parts of me, dissociative parts of me, that do not want to believe that this was abusive or that this happened at all. Because this is only something that I remembered now because I'm in my bed and I was trying to process some difficult feelings I've been dealing with for the past few days, just so I can function a little bit better for the next few ones. So that's why it's all coming out kind of jumbly. But fucking, no, this, I was yelling at him that why do you keep doing things to me that upset me, that make me sad, that make me angry? I love you and I trust, well, I need to trust you, I have no choice. I need you to stop. And, I got so upset that I screamed at him something that I didn't think I'd ever pass my lips, honestly. But back when I was 11 and he first started being home for long enough to yell at us, because it happened when I was a kid, but not regularly because he wasn't fucking here. I got a bit older, to about 11 or 12, he started coming home more regularly. We actually got the opportunity to spend some time in his wonderful company, where he'd scream at us, and there were genuinely times where, as an 11-year-old, as a 12-year-old, where I'd be standing in the kitchen and I would just be so tired and so miserable. I was great at gaslighting myself at this point in my life, you know? I just I don't know if I talked about the room punishment thing that happened. When I was a little kid, I essentially would be left in a room whenever I got emotional, just left there until eventually I stopped screaming for anyone to come back. So, you know, and I had the privilege as well of, after that happening to me, I was about 3 or 4 when that must have happened. I was a toddler. Yeah, could have been fucking younger, but I don't think so. Throughout the rest of my life, emotions were still a tricky subject, where if I even looked miserable for too long, my mom would take it personally and decide that I was looking sad to spite her. So that was something that had something that happened to me as like a child. So by the time I was 11 years old, I was emotionally constipated as fuck. You know, I didn't believe I had any good reason to ever be sad or upset, or even if I did, it was just my lot to deal with and I'd have to get over it. You know, there's no fucking softness, no fucking compassion, no fucking anything. And I'm the most emotionally healthy member of this family at this point in my life. You know? There's the other 2 siblings that I have, like, you know? This, like, I'm probably not the most emotionally healthy member of my family, but like my other 2, I'm the most emotionally expressive member of my family, you know? And I genuinely cannot cry completely and fully unless I have another person's permission to, which is why I need someone to be there with me a lot of the time if I'm going to get all of the emotion out, because someone being there with me is permission in and of itself enough, because I'd be left alone in a locked fucking room when I was a toddler when I would get upset, you know? And that's what I learned, that if I got emotional, people would leave, that me being emotional was a deeply unlovable part of me. And with emotions comes a lot of the time your yeses and your nos. Anger, no. Happiness, yes. Sadness. You know, there's important things in emotions. Important fucking things. And because the whole entire emotional spectrum was completely lost to me, you know, that I was at the age of 11, I was so fucking emotionally constipated. That I would sit there and I would wish that he would hit me, that my dad would fucking turn around and fucking punch me in the face. Because at least then, and this is so fucking sad, I would have a good enough reason to be upset. You know? I would have a good enough reason to be sad all the fucking time. I was that way when I was 11, and no fucking child should ever have to feel that way. To wish abuse onto themselves just so that they can stop feeling like they're crazy and they're making everything up. And honestly, like, I still have a hard time believing now that him yelling at us was a good enough reason for me to be sad and miserable and angry and all these horrible feelings and be miserable. Even though there were times that he has screamed at me enough that I've had mental breakdowns, that I've had panic attacks. Like, he might as fucking well have been beating the shit out of us for the kind of reactions I have now, where if someone raises their fucking voice, I'm like, or if there's a loud fucking noise goes on behind me, I'm like, you know? And again, like, even as I say this, I can feel in myself that I still don't quite believe myself, you know, that it was good enough. Because I struggle with that concept that there's any. See, this is so dangerous about the way that I was raised, okay? This is so dangerous about the particular kind of psychological and emotional fucking abuse I've gone through, is I struggle very fucking deeply with the idea that me being sad is ever good enough, you know? That there is some sort of qualifier for me having boundaries, that I have to go through something. I have to go through something good enough, meaning abusive enough, bad enough, that finally entitles me to say no to it. As it and that's the thing about boundaries. That's the thing about boundaries, is that nobody gets to dictate them to you. That is the fucking point of having boundaries. The point of having boundaries is that they're a completely unique set of boundaries to you as a person, and you are the only person who gets to dictate what they are. You know? Your no's and your yeses are completely your fucking own. Nobody else's. That's the point of them. Okay? Nobody can look at you and be like, that's a weird boundary to have. You know? Why are you doing that? But of course, growing up in a family like mine, you know, what boundaries? Yeah. And that is especially damaging for me as someone who's autistic. So, like, you know, there are just normal, everyday social things that people do that do fucking fuck with my own boundaries. So, like, if I'm at a social event and I'm feeling overstimulated and I need to step out for a second, that is a boundary of mine, you know? And even if it looks weird, or even if people are like trying to question that shit, I need to feel empowered enough to be able to just do that, you know? And not have to justify it to anyone. If I need to yeah, just shit like that. And it doesn't seem like a big deal, but it is a huge deal, especially for me. Anyways, I screamed at him that I had been so miserable back then that I had wished that he would hit me. And I'd wished that he would hit me so I'd finally have a fucking reason to be sad all the time. As a fucking parent, I don't know how you could listen to that, you know? Like, if I was a fucking parent and my kid turned around and said something like that to me, I would have to be the most soulless, fucking narcissistic, fucking closed off asshole to think that that'd be okay, you know? Sometimes it, sometimes it, sometimes it really takes me having to say things out loud for me to kind of grasp the weight of them. I was 11, yeah? And even then, I thought I was making my emotions up. So, anyways, I screamed that at him, and my mother's response was essentially to be like, as if I was the bad one in that situation. Because she was basically like, "You're being so manipulative, Kaya. I can't make this up. I can't make this up." And oh my god, sorry. She her response was basically be like, "How could you wish for that? You wanted him to? How manipulative of you." See? See, can you feel the mind fuck right there? Can you? I fucking can. Just, sorry, that woman. Jesus Christ. I was sitting there and I knew what was happening. I was looking at her. I was like, I know what you're doing. I know what you're fucking doing. I knew this was gonna happen. You know? I knew this was gonna happen the minute that I fucking let that slip. So their response was basically be like, her response was basically to be like, well, listen, you need to put up with us because you need our money. What money? What fucking money? Anyways, that was that. And that was bad enough that I went into a suicidal meltdown. Yeah. I still feel embarrassed about posting this, but I need to do this. So